I distinctly remember as a young kid going out and working on the farm and being distracted by the plants and the insects instead of what I'm supposed to be doing, like irrigating or picking cotton. I would pick cotton and look at the particular leaves of cotton, and I would notice these little red and white or red and yellow larvae of ladybug beetles. And they would attack aphids, these little small, almost transparent green things that were feeding on the plants. And there was all kinds of responses between the aphids and these little small ladybug beetle larvae. And I was endlessly fascinated with that. Of course, it didn't make me any money because I was kind of not doing my work. And so that was one of the things that got me interested in the natural world. I said, well, how does that work?
A major motivation for what I do is sheer abject curiosity. It's trying to understand why things are the way they've been. And it's that curiosity that kind of gets you into the tinkering, into the inner mechanisms of nature itself.
Okay, let's see what's underneath. Ooh, look at that. Look at these little...
One of the things that I enjoy doing with my son and with other people is just examining what's out there in the forest. And some of the most interesting things, both in terms of the organisms, in terms of the associations, in terms of weird-looking fungi, can be found underneath a log. To be a really good scientist, one has to understand things that are even beyond your immediate interest. It's all part of the same ecosystem, and to really understand any one part of it, I think you have to understand the entirety of how organisms interrelate and how they associate with one another, not only in the fossil record, but also today. And the two, both the fossil record and what's going on today, illuminate each other and help us to really understand how the past works.
Being a scientist is really a privilege, and I enjoy it because I get to study what I like, and I get to study the natural world and all of its manifestations. And I think that the secret is to really go after what interests you. You need to have a spark in terms of what is it that really drives you about the things that you study. If you go after what interests you, then the rest, I think, will always fall into place. If you're trying to answer fundamental questions or basic questions about how the world works, how organisms relate to one another, that's a prescription for success no matter what the context. And there are people that want to know, as well as you, what the answers to these questions are. So there will always be a demand to really understand the world better than we know it now. And that's basically what drives, I think, a good scientist, is to really try to understand the world and to be curious and nosy. You really have to be nosy.
When I was much younger, I did all kinds of jobs. I did farming, and I also did drywall. And when I went to college, I really pursued my interest in science, both plants, insects, and fossils. And I'm glad I made that choice, because this is, to me, the best job anybody can have. I actually find it kind of amazing that I can get paid for doing what I love.